All right, guys. Hopefully, my microphone is working well here. Just pulling up my live. Hopefully, my microphone is working well here. Seems like it is. Cool. All right. So, we're coming in hot and heavy with the first question. Hi, coach. I have currently broke my ankle. Currently broken my ankle. So, okay, let me pull it up here on my screen here. Bam. Hey, coach. I currently have broken my ankle. So, anything other than walking is not possible. Even walking in boxing stance. What drill can I use without legs to still progress? Well, anyone that's watched my stuff before would know the answer to that one, and that is to visualize. If you haven't already watched the video, let me take a moment to divert from this Ezra Charles video and go to Kepner Boxing visualization. Because, man, I got to the point in my shoulders where they were so messed up and so hurt that I couldn't throw punches. So all I could do move and things like that. And this whole video right here is going to help you with that. All right. So highly, highly recommend. And it's going to make a world of difference. I've had people in similar situations to yourself. Yeah, Legends of Boxing Color is what I'm using here. He has restored a lot of fights in their color form. This is Ezra Charles versus Pat Valentino. But yeah, that is a big one. Coco Loco. What's up, Rusty? Great to see Rusty. And hi, Ramble. Great to see you as well. We're great to have you here. Here we go. Jumping right in hot and heavy with questions, guys. Woo. I've not had a lot of coffee today, so I'm a little blah, so forgive me. All right. If someone uses their gloves to block, can you punch at their wrist or their gloves and have them feel the punch? Yes. So you can feel the punch. Do you mean on your head? Is that what you mean? Like, are you saying like feel it on my face, body, or do you mean just on the arm itself? Because obviously I know, you can feel it on your arm, and I have a more nuanced answer if that is what your question is, if that makes sense. All right. Can I be good at boxing without training my legs with heavy weights? Yes, absolutely you can. I would highly recommend that you focus mostly on conditioning, depending what your base is. If you're just like an ultra marathon runner type, slow twitch muscle type person, then yeah, maybe not. But if you're just a reasonably strong guy, I mean, these guys we're watching right here, look at it. Ezra Charles, one of the greatest fighters in history of boxing, was successful not because he didn't train his legs, but in spite of. Now, how did he train his legs? He trained it moving around the ring like we're seeing right here. He did it with some jumping rope and some runs and things like that. But these guys, they condition like that. Or, James Toney, great example. He didn't do any freaking heavy weights with the legs. So that's a great question, and hope that helped steer you away from worrying about stuff you don't need to worry about. Because I'm assuming you're not an elite level fighter. If you're not an elite level fighter, focus on your technique and getting that. Hey, coach, just started boxing, and your videos are a huge help. Thank you, Elijah. I really appreciate that, my friend. This type of stuff is for people like you and of any level. But I know there's so many people that are not blessed to have decent guidance when they start boxing, and I do my best to help. Yes to what, Rambler? Sorry. Do you still feel the damage when you hit your opponent's gloves or hit their shoulders? I'm having trouble. So let me just jump into a rabbit hole and see if it answers the question, man. Yes, you hit someone's arm super hard, and they're going to feel it because they have nerves in their arms, right? So they're going to feel it, and it can hurt a little bit, not real bad, but a little bit. Particularly if you do it along and over enough rounds, right? But assuming most people here are not fighting 12 rounds or even 6 rounds, it's not going to be too bad. But you can hit people's shoulders hard, and it can damage the shoulder. Absolutely. Hope that answers your question. And please hit me with some more if you got them. All right, Voodoo. Good day, coach. What are some drills to create better angles and outposition my opponents? Also, which boxer is the best at angles? Thanks, coach. Some drills to create better angles and outposition my opponent. Okay, well, I'm going to lean on something that I had two of my guys do this weekend, which is not what you think of as an angle, but it is an angle. It's just as important and easiest to do, and honestly, most effective. And that is if you see Ezra Charles here moving around the ring. Of course, it happens to be a moment where they do a clinch, but he does a lot of jabbing off to his left side. That is creating angles, okay? So just jabbing off to your lead side, like you just saw there, that was an angle, technically. He jabbed off to the side. There he threw a hook and spun off to the side. That type of simple stuff is going to get your opponent out of position, which is what the point of angles are. All right? Now, the next answer to that one, which I think is maybe the answer you want more, but trust me, the answer you really want is the first answer. But the next one is to practice little side steps on the bag, shadow boxing. I have a whole video like do a piece of tape on the floor and just sidestep. That's a good one too. But do not underestimate the importance of the basic things that we're seeing. Like, for instance, in this fight often right here with Ezra Charles, we're jabbing off the side, double, triple jabbing off the side. You're creating angles on people. All right. Do not neglect that. Rusty, kind of personal question. Awesome. How do you deal with low confidence in boxing in daily life? Dude, that's a great question, my friend. I love the personal question. I love to go deep. All right. I don't like to be surface level. Okay. So how do you deal with that? Well, with competence comes confidence. Okay. But then also with that, as you get better, something you always still feel some imposter syndrome. So these things happen. Right. Now, doing things that are hard build also confidence as well. So the more you do things that you're uncomfortable with doing, the more confident or comfortable you're going to feel in everyday life. Does that make sense? So if you do things which you're not comfortable doing, so for instance, if you're not comfortable talking to people, do some type of work where it requires you to talk to people. Or maybe on the weekend, volunteer and do some type of work that requires you to talk to people. Take a part-time job that requires you to talk to people. Do something like I'm doing where I'm on YouTube with, some of these videos that I've done, I've gotten, tens of thousands of views and talk, right? So that's one. Let's, depending what the area is, right? Do something in that area. And again, the hard things you do, then in contrast, everything else becomes easier, and you will also get better at those situations that were once hard. I hope that's helpful, but that is absolutely how it is with boxing and with life. Go against harder opponents. Guess what? Or harder sparring partners. Now, when you go against that sparring partner that makes you feel unconfident, you're actually going to feel more confidence. All right. So again, done to certain levels, right? And to degrees. But I hope that is helpful. And that's what I have found to be the absolute truth of an answer. Elijah, what punches are my lead hand responsible for blocking? Great question. Well, assuming you're fighting another same stance fight, Elijah, your lead hand, remember, at the end of the day, boxing is an art form. So which would I rather have you do? Block punches the way I say to do it, or to just block punches and not get hit by punches? All right. I'm going to lean to blocking punches and not getting hit by punches as number one. All right. Number two is maybe the way that I suggest to do it, right? For various reasons. Now, I'm pragmatic, right? Or I'm practical. Now, with your lead hand against the same stance fighter, you're going to stop, they're straight rear hands, right? They're twos. You can stop that with the lead hand easy. And of course, the hooks. Everything else, I recommend not making much of a focus on. You could maybe say stopping the lead uppercut with the rear uppercut with that lead arm. All right. You spike it, or you just side it up, it gets in the way. Two for the body and a right hook for the body, a rear hook for the body. Those are the punches, right? Everything's done with this hand. The jab, catch an uppercut, block and hooks in the head, and it can catch straight shots as well. Because when you or right hands over your jab, because when you shoot a jab, some guys are going to cross over that jab. A good answer besides hiding behind and things like that is to cross block, to come across and catch with that hand. I hope that's helpful. And again, same thing applies if I'm a right-hander fighting a southpaw. The same thing applies with their and punches as well. All right, if that makes sense, right? Their right uppercut, their straight right, which would be their jab now, their right hook, which would now be their 3. All right, and your rear hand does the catching and everything else would theoretically allows you to have the most important arm available to throw the most important punch. What is the most important punch of boxing? It's the jab. So we leave that free as much as possible. The more you interfere with that hand and nullify that hand and occupy that hand, the more you're taking it away. Guys will purposely make you have your lead hand be occupied to take away your jab. So don't do that to yourself unless you're, your high level is trying to strategically do it for certain reasons. But again, that doesn't apply to anyone here. I'm sorry. All right. And even you see it at higher levels too. People make these mistakes. All right. 2 years ago, I had suffered nerve damage in my left hand. That was my dominant arm, and I couldn't use it that used right hand. Now my right hand is more positioned, or I guess strong right, than my left, and watch dance. There might be like a typo issue or a translation issue, but I mean, absolutely, man. So when I box, when I box and whatnot, man, I was right-handed, but since I was coaching, I was like, man, and also to even my body out, so let me do more lefty stuff. And, I've gotten like okay with that. And I've also incentivized some of my fighters to do the same. All right, Rambo, is there a rep count for punches when you hit the heavy bag every day? For example, like 100 punch rep count for the left arm jab. I think a baseball with rep. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good thought. No one's really parsed out numbers exactly like that. Doesn't mean we couldn't do that as a boxing community. Not a bad idea to think about. I don't have any exact numbers. I do know that, excuse me, my fighters, what I have done is with shadow boxing. All right. So I've had guys have targets of the high 200s and the 300 range shadow boxing for 3 rounds. Try it, gang. Try it. Try to throw, and it's not for one hand or for the other hand. Try either hand, throwing upper 200 to 300 punches around, hard punches around shadow box, and do it for 3 rounds. It is going to properly prepare you. I'd have a punch counter and go through. All right. Salutations from Panama, coach. What's up? Tried your advice at soft did pretty well. Great. Happy to hear it, Andre. Happy to hear it, my friend. Always love to hear about success stories, and I love to hear about the challenges as well, so I can help. Love it. Communications, Panama, Duran. Yes. Say Pedro. Thank you, coach. You are welcome. All right. I appreciate it. Hey, coach, what do you think of circuit workouts for boxing? I think they're pretty great. Do you have any that you do in your classes? Maybe a future video idea. Salute, coach. Love your Q&As. G Money. Thank you, sir. Yeah, that's one thing is okay. I would love to act like there's some magic behind certain circuits and things like that. But in general, it's all what you're working on, right? Let me put it this way. If it's a real technique focused type workout and we're going to do a circuit, then it's going to be something that involves obviously shadow boxing, but things like, stepping with the jab or cutting off the ring with the jab or circling with the jab and throwing combinations, or maybe just doing that one thing that round for the purpose of technique and also mindfulness. And then maybe perhaps it's something focused more on another aspect of the game that's important, like let's say being on the inside. And so being very close to the bag and practicing short punches and putting them together. And then perhaps it's, another round using these things that you have. But that's a great idea for video. I actually do have a video, I think, in the members only section that is about like a circuit that applies to this exact question, G Money. So check that out, see if that's there. And if it's not, let me know. By the way, guys, if you don't mind, if you enjoy this, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, guys. Really appreciate it with the super thanks right down below. It really helps a lot, guys. And again, there's a reason why I have a better mic. Hopefully this sounds better to everybody. It's because of you guys contributing like you're doing, and I do my best to contribute to the community. Do you think I can protect my hands effectively enough so that it does not interfere with my music career. Oh, okay. Sorry. I play a ton of instruments. I don't plan on competing. Okay. That's a great question. That's a really good question. Now, I do know I have had musicians that I worked with, like professional musicians, where it was a concern. It was a concern. Okay, now, so if I was in your position, my wife is a classical violinist, by the way. She's concert master for Athens Symphony Orchestra. So proud of her for that. She also had 22 fights and everything else. With herself, with the way her hands are and everything else, no, she could not continue doing that and also be playing. Now, depending what your constitution is like with the hands, are the hands brittle? Do they have problems? Definitely, you want to look at doing very, 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 very protective wraps. I would look at. There's some company out there. I don't remember whether they do like basically a pro wrap that you can put on, or literally use gauze and tape to wrap your hands up and then cut that wrap off after practice and then tape it back on for a real, real, real secure fit. Use more fluffy protective gloves. I like fighting gloves or winning gloves. I think they're actually made by the same company, but winning is more expensive than fighting, I think. And also stick to less bag work, less hard bag work, meaning bags that are hard. And all those points considered, you should be okay. But you have to consider all those points. Now, okay, Rambler, is there a way to practice shadowboxing or hitting the heavy bag without being robotic with combinations to advanced level fighters are more creative when hitting the heavy bag or boxing? Okay, is there a way to practice shadowboxing or hitting the heavy bag without being robotic with combinations to okay. Yeah. So it comes to one of those things, right? The two different levels of training, right? So you have the technical and the creative time training. And in my opinion, you need to allow for both, right? Think about it, to use the music example. Might not be close enough to my mind. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But think music example where you to go through your scales, right? Practicing, a major scale, things like that. And you also have your time playing certain pieces, and then you have your time where it's time to learn how to improv. And if you never improv, good luck trying to improv when it's time to improv, right? So if you're someone that is like a jazz player and you never do improv, you'll do it. So start improving. Now, how do you improv? Well, one recommendation that I'm stealing from a music teacher I like a lot is the idea of having less things to improv with. Okay. So when you're trying to improv with punches, right, to be versatile, or the word you used is not robotic with combinations, to be more fluid and mix it up, is to pick just a couple punches to through and to put in different combinations. All right. Because sometimes what can happen is if you have all these options, right? Same thing with music. If you have all these options of different notes you can hit, and it's time to improv, you might just it might be death by any options. If you have, let's say, one note or two notes that you have to go between and improv using just different rhythms and whatnot, and that forces you to be creative. So you can do the same thing with your punches on the back. You can improv with a 1 and a 2, right? Putting those two together in different ways, 1 1 2, 2 1 1, pauses between the two punches, different timings between the two punches, or you can do that with a right hand and a left hook, right? You can do a right hand double hook, right hand. You can do, a double right hand, left hook, right hand, right hand, left hook, right hand, and then left hook, left hook, left hook. Just and kind of letting yourself be free with is a good way to do it. So I recommend you try that. All right, Ed, is 33 years old too old to restart sparring? Well, again, these are questions that are dependent upon the person, honestly. Sure. Get in shape. If you're not already in shape, get in shape and restart sparring. Be very careful. Do your best to not get hit very much. You should be doing that anyway, no matter what your age is. I'm assuming you don't have any medical conditions that are of concern. I recommend you to Vaseline the hell out of your helmet so punches slide off more. Vaseline your face up so punches slide off more. be mindful of defense, and be mindful of who you spar with, right? And listen to your body, but be aware that as we get older, we require more time to recover. The brain does. The immune system is what heals the brain, and the longer we, here, I'm gonna pull up this card. No, pull up that card. The older we get, the more likely that we are going to have trouble with healing of the brain. The younger we are, the healthier we are, and the faster things heal. And that's how it goes. So you just have to keep that in mind. Prioritize rest more than what you might have done in the past. Right? That's one of the most important things. And still with legends of boxing in color. All right, getting into it, guys. All right, great question. How do you defend after throwing a cross to the body? I always feel open and stuck after throwing it. That's a great question. Rusty, killing the questions, man. By the way, guys, great way to support. Cup of coffee really helps a lot. Super thanks. Go below, knock it out, please. So the big trick, man, is after that cross to the body, come back up top with the lead hand shot. It's going to side you right back up, and it's going to make their counter harder. All right. Yes, absolutely, dude. If you cross the body and you leave it out there, it's hard to respond to counters and things like that. But if you make a priority of after you're across the body, you're going to come back quickly with a jab or a lead hand shot of some type. You are going to diminish the likelihood of counter getting thrown and a counter even landing, because you're siding yourself back up and you're really mixing defense with offense. Because as we side back up, your punch that you're finishing with on the lead side can interfere with their punch, probably coming from the rear side, as an attempt of a counter. All right? Great question. Now, a few years ago, I had nerve damage a lot of nerve damage tonight, guys. I feel it though. I've been there with you guys in a lot of ways. A few years ago, I had nerve damage in my dominant left hand, so I switched to my right. I was same gentleman. And I'm now more proficient with it. Yes, absolutely. I want to start boxing, but need advice on training. Yes, absolutely. Nerve damage in my dominant left hand, so I switched to my right hand. Yeah, I mean, dude, I would say, for simplicity's sake, go orthodox and do that for a little bit and see how it feels. And if that just feels totally goofy and weird after a while of doing it, then let's switch it back. All right. But, your dominant left hand, so I switched to my right and now proficient with it. Cool. So now your right is, I assume you're stronger with it as well. So now you have the strong hand in the back, and that you could make a logical case for both, man. At the end of the day, definitely don't overthink it. There are plenty of guys that transferred from one to the other and did perfectly fine. How can I stay relaxed but focused in the ring? Having a balance of both. Yes, we all do, Jimmy. We all do. Yes. I would say the one thing. Okay, so think about this. When we think of relaxed, we oftentimes think it's like chilling, sitting back like I am right now, kind of, right? But obviously, that's not how to be in the ring. So we have to be relaxed, but also competitive, right? Relaxed and competitive. So it's different. It's a different vibe. There's a little bit of a cockiness air, right? I'm thinking about one of my guys right now I'm working with, and he and I were doing this touch drill that we're doing now with a lot of our boxers. And, I was doing it with him. It was great for me to keep up some reflexes and stuff like that. And I don't have the chance of getting a concussion from it or of getting my neck jacked up from it. And he was getting, he wasn't getting disrespectful, but he was getting that relaxed confidence. And it's like almost a little bit of cockiness, if that makes sense. So remember that. Think about someone that is like truly confident and getting a little bit just like, I got this type attitude. They're alert and relaxed. Okay. As opposed to someone that's just kind of lackadaisical, that's kind of half there or half aware or half asleep, right? Or under engaged. And then contrast that as well with the person that is overly aware of everything and overreactive to everything. They're really a neurotic, right? Great example is this fight right here, or this fighter right here, excuse me, Henry Armstrong, who, he had 3 world titles when there was only 8, and he fought for the 4th one against Seferino Garcia, middleweight title, and lost it on a draw. Henry Armstrong, and he has that rhythm. Joe Frazier stole his rhythm, or was influenced by the rhythm, but it's this type of like cocky, relaxed. It's not like a tense rhythm and herky jerky he's doing. It's like it's a confident and relaxed rhythm, and you see a lot of fighters do this, rhythms to this, and to me, it exemplifies a little bit of that attitude. You need to maybe watch some fighters that are relaxed and aggressive, relaxed and have that competitive mindset. Again, other fighters maybe aren't as rhythmic as like Henry Armstrong. That comes to mind is like James, or even like an Aaron Pryor. All right, because you have to connect with that air, and also Muhammad Ali too. All right, that was someone that at the end for me really connected. The relaxed but confident and just competitive mindset Ali obviously had. And watching these guys and trying to put yourself in their shoes, try to put yourself in their mind, it can help. It can absolutely help. I'm 43 and beat 20 and 30-year-olds. Yeah, totally, absolutely, dude, absolutely. I'm proud to say I had a 39-year-old knock out a 20-year-old in a fight. So it was awesome. Looks like, and you pro, or are you maybe Muay Thai? Look, you might be a pro boxer though. Cool, man. Happy to have you in the chat. Yes. I have trouble letting my right hand. I see your other question there, Brandon. I have trouble letting my right hand orthodox go in sparring. I also feel very vulnerable to the opponent's cross. Any tips? Yes, bring your head off line as you shoot the 2, right? So slipping the head to your lead side as you throw that punch. And then as well as the rear hand in front a little bit more in your general stance to allow you to get it there quicker. All right. That's my short answer for you, sir. I hope that. Brandon, when are you going to do another video for us tall boxers? Huh. Man, that's a great question. Man, I'm a short guy, so I mean, like, I feel bad giving all this tall guy stuff, man, but always have tall guys that do well. Oh, Colin, a guy that trains in the gym, in the chat. What is up, Colin? But yeah, Brandon, soon, my friend, soon. I trust you went through all that tall guy stuff, right? That whole how to fight as a tall guy. And I mean, I touched on points for all friends out there and all of our short friends there. Thank you, Coach. You're welcome, Jimmy. Prize Fighter 8-0, dude. Love it, man. Where are you out of? Can you tell if you're concussed without seeing a doctor? Yeah, you probably can. Got rocked yesterday trying to spar light with a friend who doesn't box. Of course, he went too hard. Yeah. So if you feel unusually fatigued the next day, and it wasn't because you just went like crazy max on your workouts, that might be a sign you're concussed. I feel like I'm about to like run into a Jeff Foxworthy, you might be a redneck routine. That's an old reference for anyone in here. If you feel like freaking like unusually tired the next day, you might have had a slight concussion. It's possible. A headache can be a sign of that. Definitely, obviously, if you're feeling a little dizzy, that can also be a sign of it as well. And just play it careful. And that's one of the things is the hard thing as a fighter is you have to balance getting your brains in with trying to stay safe, but also trying to not be neurotic about stuff. When I was boxing, man, and I got my neck injury, like initially I was like, whatever, right? I felt like I was invincible. Then when I got my neck injury, I was like, man, I'm invincible. Then I got it fixed, I thought, for a little bit. And then I went back to sparring and it wasn't the same, dude. I was like damn concerned about it happening again. Then I was like a different person. And then I eventually got back in that mind. Then I had the injury like flare up again, my spinal cord. And yeah, so play it by ear. Definitely it's one of the downsides around. You want to always be focused and locked in, even if you are working with someone that's lesser than you, because they can throw something stupid, or catch you. I don't know. I'm not saying you were being stupid, but catch us sleeping. Gonna head out here, Coach. Thanks again for the great knowledge. Oh, thank you, my man. Get some rest and consider buying me a cup of coffee because Coach Keith needs coffee. Coming up on a year of training, and now I can't spar for the next 8 months due to mouth surgery. I'm scared I'll fall back, especially since I wanted to fight by the end of the year. Well, depending what your time is for recovery from mouth surgery, okay, so I mean that is only going to be a month or a couple months. I don't know how long the recovery is. I would say, don't worry, my friend. Don't worry, my friend. Take this time to go, like I talked about earlier, go check out the video that I have on visualization because I've had people in your exact situation, not with mouth surgery itself, but other surgeries and things like that, and injuries and situations. And they shadow boxed and they visualized sparring and fighting, and they got pretty good and they broke through some of their barriers. So, assuming you've done some sparring before this surgery came, and so you have some context to visualize it, then we're good, my friend. It's just up to you to be consistent. New Orleans, awesome, man. Not too far away from Georgia. I don't get hits either in general, so I don't know if I could get one. I mean, yeah, you could. That I was concussed. Yeah, well, don't worry about too much, man. Just maybe don't get hit the very next day or like 2 days later. Don't have someone hit you as hard as they can. Right? Question: how many of you guys watch old school fights like this one, like Mr. Henry Armstrong, like Ezra Charles, Joe Louis, Sugar Ray Robinson? How many of you guys watch those old school fighters? Because a lot of the fighters you guys look up to, whether we all look up to, that are current, they did, right? Whether it was someone like a Mayweather. I guess I'm dating myself by saying Mayweather because like his last, professional boxing, I guess now 10 years ago ish. But James Toney, man, old school fighter, watched, not an old school fighter in my book, but, watch old school style because he watched. And, you got to study your sport. You got the history of the sport. You got to know how guys fought. And there's things we can take, there's things that have changed, right? There's things that are a little bit different, but there's a lot that you can take from really, in my opinion, a century or so of modern boxing that we have on film, right? From 1925, 1930 onward. Very, very good stuff. None. I don't know where to start. Rusty, man, Rusty, thank you so much for coming out with this, man. Thank you for that comment, Rusty. All right, this is where you start. This is where you start. You go to the YouTubes, man. Because man, my dad and I went through and we bought like all the DVDs, and of course he had all the VHS tapes. So man, Rusty, start off with Joe Louis, man. I know he's a heavyweight, but he and Jack Blackburn really revolutionized the sport of boxing. Go through, just watch all the Joe Louis fights, man. Jack Roper, sure. Max Baer, sure. Him against Nathan Mann, yes, of course. Oh, here, full fights by Joe Louis by Joe Louis. Him against Sharkey. Him against James Braddock, the Cinderella Man. Him against Jersey Joe Walcott. This is when he's older. Man, they just like jumped all over the place in time. I think Arturo Godoy, I think that's when he knocks the guy out going backwards. Really nice. Primo Canera, that's way up. And you see, it's older boxing, but man, you get to see foundational stuff, which is really big. So start off with that. Now, you can't go wrong with Robinson. You really can't go wrong with that one. And then if you want to get more modern, in my definition of modern, and you go to Sugar Ray Leonard. I'm actually going to do a deep dive into Sugar Ray Leonard coming up here because I really enjoyed that fight study with the 3 fight with he and Duran. So definitely check that one out. Let's not play that one in the background. Also, remember the best performances of Sugar Ray Robinson we don't necessarily have much film of. So here, I'll play this playlist in the back, and we'll see how this plays out. But yeah, those are some bases to start. Ed, the first cup of coffee. Thank you, man. Nowadays with coffee, man, $2 gets me a half a cup of coffee. Thank you, though, because that definitely 100% helps, my friend. Thank you, sir. All right, Brandon, Bernard Hopkins is my style and my background. We came from the same. Wow, very cool, man. Bernard Hopkins, man, a great foundational fighter. You know, Bernard Hopkins is a great example of foundations because he was older when he started boxing, right? I think what did he not have any amateur fights? He kept his damn chin down. The basics, man, the basic stuff that we all need to remember and do, no matter who we are. The guys forget or get away with. And like in that first fight he had with Roy Jones Jr., he lost to Roy Jones. Roy Jones more the athletically gifted guy. And then when they fought as older men, Bernard beat up Jones because of, in my opinion, the foundation. When he got whittled back to the foundation and not things that relied on athleticism alone. That's awesome. Glenn R. I watch old fights all the time. Must have watched Tom McCallum 1 and 2 to 20 times. Cool. Yeah. And dude, Glenn, when I say old fights, though, I'm talking about like this old, like that old. Not all the film is this bad. But go through, man. Go through. It is helpful. I've started doing 30 minutes on the elliptical 4 or 6 times a week since running flares up my shins. Cool. My heart rate stays around 130 to 150. Is this good alternative running? Yeah, that's decent. That's decent. Dara's start doing some tibia work, right? Chin splint curls where you have your foot on the ground and you just do this with your foot because that's going to strengthen up that tendon in the front of your shin. And I used to have shin splints all the time. Something about boxing, I think, because it's so calf heavy, kills the shins on some people. Killed my shins. And I started doing that on the advice of a Muay Thai coach, and it helped a lot. And I don't get shin splints anymore, ever, at all. And I stopped getting shin splints then, too. So I highly recommend that. But yeah, that's decent. Maybe while you do that, watch some boxing. All right. I love watching old fights like, yeah, dude. Joe Louis, Brandon. Yeah, man. Joe Louis all the way. I'm from New Orleans, though he from Philly. Gotcha. Yes, sir. It is. Yes. Like high reps, 30 reps, get them burning, and do that consistently over time. And let me know if you've already tried that. It doesn't work, but it does work. Maybe, and again, I'm happy to hear if it doesn't work. Not everyone has the same effect from things. Turning pro in May at 44. Any advice? Yes, I have advice, Brandon. I appreciate you sharing that, and I appreciate your open for sharing some thoughts with you real quick, if you don't mind. So this would be my advice to you, sir, from someone I've done things wrong with guys before, and I've seen people do a lot of things wrong. So we learn from people that do things wrong. Everyone has something to teach us what to do or what not to do, right? So this is my advice to you, my friend. Unless you have a relationship with someone that is like a promoter, promoting the local pro card or whatever, whoever it is, then you probably need to buy yourself a slot. And what I'm trying to say is, like, if you get somebody to offer you a fight, or if someone offers you a fight, reaches out to you for a fight, you got to be very, very careful, man, because their goal is to sell you as the opponent to fight someone that, I'm not saying you couldn't beat anyone in the world, but just someone that maybe is not the right person at that time for you to fight. The right style, the right situation, the right weight. All right. So my strong advice, man, is take a fight where maybe you can make up for the opponent with ticket sales. Maybe if you have people that are fans of yours that will come and see, or something like that. All right. It's a topic for a far deeper conversation, but that would be my initial advice to you. And then also get a lot of good sparring in with other pros in preparation for that. Just want to say I appreciate you immensely. Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Darius. I appreciate you, my friend. You're one of my favorite coaches on YouTube. Man, that means a lot, my friend. You're a great communicator. Man, again, geez. And I love people you dive into things and touch on philosophy. I appreciate it, my friend, man. I don't have any words to say, man. Appreciate it. I often see fighters get pieced up by experienced fighters due to no head movement or poor distance management. Yes. Yet I see our elite fighters do the same thing. Is it subtle head movements? Okay. It is situational awareness, frankly. Uh, when to do something, when not to do something. That is a difference. Oh, it'll be on ProBox TV, Brandon. Oh, so yeah, no, I got you, brother. I got you. Yeah, would love to see you, man. I saw a son of a coach that I knew real well who passed away, Najee Lopez. You know, his father, Coach Lopez. I knew him real well before he passed in 2020, and it's great to see Najee succeeding the way he is. Najee Lopez and his brother, older Tito, still doing his thing. Hakeem. Okay, so often I see fighters get pieced up by experienced fighters due to no head movement or poor distance management. Yet I see it. So again, it's knowing when and what to do. There are definitely subtleties, but remember as well that okay, let's put it this way. Let's say, always love presenting things like this so I don't sound like I'm an egotist. So Rusty, let's say you and I are boxing and you're the more experienced boxer and I'm not the more experienced boxer. You're going to have less regard for anything I do, right? You're not going to be concerned about me countering. You're not going to be concerned with much of what I do. So therefore, I give you some very serious things to think about, which could be like I have a lot of power, or I'm going to make you miss as a range management and head movement, and you have that uncertainty of that when you throw it's not going to land. If I don't do those things as a lesser fighter, man, you're like, whatever. It's target practice time. That's the reason why. Does that make sense? That there's more concern. Opening up doorways all the time, and you know nothing behind the doorways. There's puppies behind the doorway every time you open a doorway, dude. You're just gonna open up a doorway and you're gonna like be on your phone and like be like, whatever, dude. Open up a doorway, cool, whatever. But if you don't know, sometimes there's a panther behind the doorway or a freaking grizzly bear, you're gonna be a lot more ready, or a guy with a freaking gun ready to blow your brains out. And so that's how it is when the elite go against the elite at that higher level. If they lose focus for just a second, they can get nailed. But they know against the less experienced guy, hey, man, I can just relax, put things together. And if that person isn't giving them range management, like you're saying so well, and head movement, then it's for them to think about. Okay, so Darez, that's a great question. Is there a way I could get feedback from you watching a sparring session of mine? Maybe a consultation as well? I'm going to pay. Yeah, man, 100%. I'm going to put we'll tell you what. Darez, are you on Instagram or whatnot? Find me on Instagram, shoot me a message. We'd love to do that. All right. Thanks. Yeah. Awesome, Brandon. Love it, man. How tall are you, Brandon? Say you're tall. And what weight are you? Thoughts on Bivol? So what? Thoughts on him as a fighter? He's a fighter. A lot of experience. Really impressed, with what he's done. And, he's very, very good. I don't honestly know enough about the competition in the weight class to give much thoughts about how things are going to go for him in the future, but he's a solid fighter. I saw, and again, by me as judgment, I'm not trying to say anything about him as a boxer or Beterbiev, but I saw in that last fight they had, both guys just not pushing the gas in certain times and not really trying to take the fight from each other, like you see the great Sugar Robinson doing, like you've seen other fighters do. And so that adds a question in my mind. If he's in certain situations where a certain guy can give him, again, but there has to be that guy to do that, right? If there's not a guy to do that to him, maybe he'll, just continue to be successful for a long time. So, that's my thoughts on Bivol. How do you understand your true range? That's a great question. When you say true range, what do you mean exactly? I don't exactly know what you mean by true range, as opposed to like your false range, meaning like your absolute range with punches. How do you understand that? Well, the answer to that question, my friend, in my opinion, would be to simply, this is actually where the bag work becomes important, but also sparring and things like that, of course. But bag work and throwing and missing a bag, but not purposely missing the bag. Trying to throw in a manner that we're going to try to hit the bag. We're still going to do it with good form. So we're not going to excessively lean. We're not going to hyperextend our arms on our straight punches, but we're going we're going to find out. We're going to experiment where our range is and know where it is dependent on our stance position, right? Where our back foot needs to be to get us in a certain range and what that does to our range. How our shoulders need to be if we're more bladed, quote unquote, or more square when we throw certain punches. What's the range, right? Where's the lead foot in this dance, right? Closer, a little bit more back, my back foot back out further, more under me. What does that do to my range? And experiment with that and get used to that, because I tell you, I don't train like seriously or anything anymore. And when I mess around on a bag, I'll notice oftentimes, man, I'm like cutting my range so short compared to what it actually is. I'll do some jabs and be like, damn, I'm like ultra close with this jab in comparison to what I can actually be with this jab if I just side myself up, if I just put my foot under a little bit more, things like that. Hope this is a question. Caxer. By the way, gang, Ed, this awesome dude right here, dropped $2 for coffee. I would love for someone else to hit it up with some coffee, guys, because we're smoking with brilliant questions. We got about 15 minutes left, and would really love that. Okay, let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Who you got in Benavidez versus Morale? I don't know a lot about Morale, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. Right? You guys can all call me a freaking idiot because I don't know much about it, but just knowing in the business of, I'm going to say Benavidez. What do you think? I should look into that though. I'll look into that and give you my real opinion, but my quick, like make decision in 5-second opinion, right? My what is it? Slow type 1 thinking, type 2 thinking, whatever is Benavidez. All right, just message me. Awesome, Derez. Appreciate it, brother. All right, I thought Bivol won the first fight. It was a close fight. Don't hate me, Glenn, but man, I was giving it to the. I think I gave it to Beterbiev. Again, based off of punches landed in rounds, but I'd love to know what your thoughts are as well. To be clear, I'm not a fan of either one. Not that I hate them either, but I'm not a fan. I try not to be a fan of boxing. I just try to do what I do with boxing, because sometimes being a fan can mess up our perception. I know that has happened to me before. I think Floyd Mayweather taught me that back in the early, the like 2011s. All right. 6'6", 175. Woo! To 190 pounds. Also fight southpaw. If I feel like it. Nice. You are a tall freaking dude, man. Keep him at the end of that stick. Hello, sir. The train at doesn't have good sparring partner and a coach and a good coach. Man. And there are no gyms gyms nearby. How do I improve? I want to be the best, please. Guide me. Have a good day. Man, I'm gonna. Well, like, where are you in your whole country? Is there really not any good gyms? Like, I mean, I don't know where you are, man. I'm just assuming maybe you're in another country, maybe you're in America. I don't know, but where are you, man? This is the thing, and guys, this is, by the way, with Rubaba and his situation. This is why we gotta be grateful. We gotta be grateful for every time your opponent shows the hell up. For every time that sparring partner shows up that you're like, man, I really don't want to spar today because it hurts sometimes, a lot of times. You need to be so grateful for that person, no matter if they're a freaking dick, a jerk. Because, man, if you ain't got anyone to beat you up and give you some challenge, right? You're going to have Rubaba situation. And that's the worst, man. I know I've had it with my women fighters that I've had where it's like, dude, we'll go, travel 4 hours for a fight and the girl doesn't even show up. Or you're trying to get fights for 2 years and you get 2 fights. I don't have a great answer for you. I have an answer, but I'd love to know where you are. It's not a great answer that I have, honestly, my friend. Amin Lopez about the same size. He was just TV fight. Yep. I had a journeyman pro fight Castile back when Castile was like 8-0. So I've been in the opposite corner of Castile before, and I've had a lot of my guys spar. Najee, yep, he just fought on Pro Box and won like a North American belt or something. Proud of him. I might be misunderstanding, but why does it seem like people mostly throw thumb up hooks on the bag and only short mid range hooks when shadowboxing? Yeah, no, you're right. This is something I've thought a lot about, and I don't have a good answer for, right? Because you will have people that will swear on their grave that you should always throw your hook like this. And then they'll like watch their favorite fighter will be like Sugar Ray Robinson, and Robinson will throw his hook with palms facing him or something, right? Um, there's weird stuff in this sport, man. There's weird biases and confusion, in my opinion. People not being realistic, a lot of folklore too. Man, don't get me into all the folklore of training that people get into, whether it's like the no sex thing or the um man, like drinking teas and some weird crap like that. Just so much of BS. But uh what well, the one reason that I would think, or the one reason if I had to give a reason to shadow box with palm down hooks, is that is easier to shadow box and to keep it all compact. And so that can be helpful in some ways. And when you're shadow boxing, just like turning it over as opposed to like trying to actually orchestrate a proper hook, or like a standard hook that you throw, is yeah, it's a weird thing. And I'm happy you noticed that. That shows that you're paying attention to boxing. A lot of people that go through all their times in boxing never freaking notice that. Did you ever hear about Don King winning an award at the recent Ring Magazine thing? No, I didn't hear about that. What did he win the award for? You know, and again, not to act like Don King has never done anything good for boxing. I mean, he's promoted a lot of big fights, but I wouldn't trust the guy. My dad had a heavyweight fighter where he got a offer from Don King, and he passed that up because of just all the bad things that are associated with Don King. Some people think he's a front for uh, some crime organization, right? He's like just kind of like the front guy. So, but people say his son does like fine business. I don't know his son's name, but this is just what I've heard. Off topic. Since this is Boxing Central, but do you play any instruments? If so, what style or genre? Thank you so much. I appreciate the personal question. I shall answer. Yeah, so I played the guitar, but I was self-taught, and I played in many bands. First started off with rock and roll type grunge music, uh, then went to more like metal type music, and then got into kind of neoclassical metal stuff as I was trying to get more advanced, and then ended up all the way over into kind of fusion jazz music, right? And so I played in some rock bands, some metal bands, and then I played lastly in a surf rock band. Uh, like think of like the soundtrack to Pulp Fiction, right? Now, to contrast these two things, one reason why I'm happy to answer this question is with the guitar, I obviously didn't have YouTube, because we're talking back in like the early 2000s. And I was completely self-taught. So I learned things in ways that were not the most economical to do things, and had to unlearn that. And that held me back. And so there's certain holes in my playing that are there because I was self-taught. I have too much stress on my picking hand, and yeah, a lot of different little things like that. And so this is where it becomes so important, because I played guitar for many years. I was in some bands, but the level of success that I got to, in terms of, like, one, being able to do it, but two, to be able to teach it, was far less than when I mentored under my father in boxing, who had a mentor as well, who is a very high level coach. And so therefore that built the foundation that I'm doing my best to build for everyone here, and that approach of stuff that does work to build a solid foundation, right? As opposed to like, man, I saw this guy do this cool thing on a guitar, so I'm going to mimic that cool thing on the guitar. And that's what I spent a lot of years doing, as opposed to building this foundation and stuff that you're like, man, I don't really see, because you don't have the knowledge. I don't really see how this works. I don't see why you should do this stuff, right? And also, you don't have anyone that explains it to you, maybe in the way that connects. That's what I try to be for this community. So, man, Duras, thank you so much for that question. I hope that was helpful to everyone listening on that one. Yes, lots of monkey see, monkey do type behavior. Yep, exactly. On the boxing thing with the hook thing and this, that, and the app. It's funky. My amateur record is 0-0 because I can't get fights, so enter into prize fighting tournaments for cash. No, and still can't get amateur fights. Yeah, no, I understand. Cool. So you got some cash from the fighting tournaments. That's cool. Well, dude, buy yourself a pro fight. That is what I would recommend you do for your first pro fight. You know, just to get it going. Louisiana. Trying to think if the promoter I'm thinking of works in Louisiana. I think he does. All right. Love Jazz Fusion and Neo Soul. Yeah, man. One guy got really big. Charles Mingus. If you know who that is. He was a bass player, band leader for Jazz. I don't even remember what he won. He didn't even show his face there. I was surprised the scumbag's still alive. Yeah, he is still alive. He's old as hell. Yeah. I don't know him personally, obviously, but I've seen him. I've met him. But when he was there I had a guy fight on the undercard of Deontay Wilder versus Medina or something like that was the guy's name. And that was actually in Alabama. All right, weight cutting tips if you're already fairly lean. Ooh, King David, great question. By the way, guys, we're getting close to the end. I would love it. Only one person dropped a $2 super thanks. Awesome, Ed. So I would love it, guys, if you could just drop me a little super thanks. I'd really appreciate it. Go down to the bottom of the video, see where that heart is. Or actually, it's in the chat. Like there's like a heart with a dollar sign. All right. Ooh, about to beat up my microphone. Okay, weight cutting tips if you're already fairly lean. Great question. So we're talking about making weight for a fight. Okay, so let's talk about a couple things with that. So first off, David, is that if we're trying to make weight, I'm assuming to just get on a scale, right? To hit that weight, and then we get off that scale and we're not that weight anymore, right? So you just need to hit it for a moment. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Someone just gifted a Kenner Boxing membership. That's awesome, Perez. You're the man. All right. So if it's that, then we're talking about water. Now, if we want more sustained weight loss over time, right? More than hitting it for just a day, then we're talking about losing fat or losing muscle too. Okay. You can lose muscle, and that can be fine in boxing, right? Some guys, I've had plenty of guys come to me who've played football who are 220, right? They're not like ripped lean, but you can safely say they would be 190 if they were ripped and lean. And they get down to 170, 165-ish. So with those individuals, what do they do? Like I said, if we're going to be needing to lose some muscle because you're just freaking got too much damn muscle on you, then you're going to chill out on the freaking weightlifting. Oh man, Derez, you dropped the $2. Oh man, gosh, man, this guy's just, man, you are the bomb, Derez. You're the man. So you're gonna lay off the weightlifting a little bit. You're gonna drop down the calories, about 500 deficit to maybe 1,000 deficit. You're gonna increase your cardio, and that's it. Now you said you're already lean, though. Okay, so I'm assuming you're trying to maybe cut a little bit of water weight, perhaps, just to make a weight for a fight. How much of a difference do we have to overcome here? And is it pro as is it amateur? If it's amateur and we have to make the weight, and we might be fighting within 4 or 5 hours afterwards, then our water cut needs to be very careful, very minimal too, because the water around the brain takes up to 48 hours to fully replenish, and so therefore you're opening yourself up to more brain damage. With a pro fight, you have 24 hours to rehydrate, so you can get more of it on and can get away with cutting a little bit more. All right, now if you want to cut out the water weight, basic answer for that is you hyperhydrate for the week that you're trying to do it, right? And that will help you dilute a little bit of your salt levels and things like that. So that allows you then to shut off the water easy. Now, when you shut off the water, all you got to do is just put on some type of sauna suit and work out for about 30 minutes or so, and it will drop it down very quickly if you've been max hydrating, okay? That's the simple answer for that one. And then, yeah, with the cutting weight that like permanently is cutting weight, you're going to have to be dropping some fat or some muscle to do that. And again, to be a great fighter, you don't need a lot of muscle, like as shown by Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray Robinson, perhaps the greatest combat athlete to ever live. All right. Wrapping up, that's a great question. What's your opinion on buying a co apartment? It's fine. It's fine. It's a fun thing, but it's a fun thing. And so it's important to remember it's a fun thing as opposed to like an essential thing. Essential thing, man. You'll be better to buy it to better to buy than that. That's not as fun as that. A mirror, full length mirror. That would be better, but less fun. Thanks so much, Therese. Appreciate it. Oh, that's awesome. Cheers from British Columbia, Canada. Hey, Paul, what is up? I'm wrapping up here, man. I might draw it out another 5 minutes, but I really appreciate everyone. Do they let you guys wrap with tape and gauze and the amateurs in the States? They don't let us in Canada. Man, great question. So that's so funny. They required us for years to wrap with gauze and tape, and then they let the Europeans use Velpo or whatever. And then it's only been until recently that they allowed us to use trading wraps. Now, why is that relevant to me? Because, dude, it's up. Sometimes I'll have like freaking 7, 8 guys fighting and don't have a lot of time to get them ready. So I had to wrap 7 or 8 hands. It's a lot. It's a lot of gauze and tape too. And some is cool, like it's very important for like I wrapped up one of my guys who has had some hand problems, wrapped him up for his first fight this Saturday. He won a unanimous decision. So proud of him, man. So awesome, so great. But with most of the guys, now that we're allowed to use training wraps, I'm just like, dude, wrap up your training wraps because it's amateurs. We're going to keep it simple. But who knows? Maybe to get back in the spirit again, if the guys buy their own gauze and tape, I wrap them up like that because it can get expensive over a little while. Got about 3 keg more. So that's what, 6 pounds to lose. Thank you for the tip. Yeah, about 6 pounds, and you're at 1/6. What does that transfer to? 78. Let's go to the high number. So you got that's 2.2 conversion, right? So we got 7.5 times 0.2.2. So 165 from blah blah blah. I got 6 more to lose. Yeah. Again, sweating it out quick, but do it like right before you get on the scale. And then also like don't anything, before you go to bed before you have to make that weight in the morning. Does that make sense? All right. What is the common sticking point for beginners around 6 months when sparring? Very variable factor there, but I would say keeping their foundations, jabbing, and keeping their foundations. They start to get a little happy and comfortable and start departing from those foundations if they're doing well. Yeah, that's one of the things. That's 6 months into sparring. Absolutely. It's nice to have the option though, but I can see your point for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And I feel you. That's interesting that they required you guys to not, I guess too, because man, there's been things like this was before my time, but my dad talked about back in the, early 90s and stuff like that, where guys win a tournament in amateurs and like maybe they won their championship fight in that tournament. And then they would take off the wraps and they would measure them on the wall. You saw this. They measured the wrap length on the wall of the gauze and the tape. And if you were out beyond a certain parameter of length, whatever the parameter is, the other guy would win. So, yeah, it's fucking ass. 170 pound bodybuilder S physique right here. Okay, well, it's okay. Let's lean it up a little bit. Because again, like this is something that I had to come to grips to with boxing. It was like, man, do I want to look like a badass or be a badass? I'm not saying you're not a badass, but like be more of a badass, right? So, in the process of boxing, the bodybuilding stuff is not that helpful. Fun guys get cozy in spots they shouldn't after a while though too. They get a bit cute. Yeah, no, exactly. They start, man, Paul, great point, my friend. Great point in answer to that question, which I will wrap up on. And that is that absolutely people get stuck in their own little cutie crap that they're doing in their cozy spots and of like, I'm going to box a certain way. And you're like, bro, stop. It's like, I think my guys, stop boxing like you're Stevens because you're not. right? Go back to the foundation of you so you can find you, or go back to the foundation so you can actually find who is you as a boxer, right? Or I like to be Mayweather, or I like to be Manny Pacquiao, or I like to be this other thing, right? Again, I'm dating myself with my references outside of Shakur Stevens. Wrapping up here. Awesome. Single jabs. Yep. Double them up. Exactly. That's well measure. Yeah. Thanks for the content, coach. I use it at the gym. That's awesome, brother. Have a great night. Paul up in BC, doing the good deeds too. And, all of us coaches, man, doing our best to help everyone out there. And you guys that are training and fighting and everything else, are getting ready to fight, let's keep on the good path, guys. Keep on the good path. 2025 is going to be an amazing year for every single one of us that puts in the work. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all. Have a good night. Good night, brother. Appreciate you too. Bye-bye.